Thank you guys for tuning in. In this video, we're going to take a look at the 2020 killing of a young recording artist who went by the name of FBG Duck. The arrest of his alleged assassins in October of 2021, just a few weeks ago. And we're going to take a brief look at the war between Tacarlos, which is a gangster disciple set which FBG Duck was allegedly a member, and the O-Block faction of the Black Disciples. The war's been going on for years, so we're going to take a quick look at that. Hope you enjoyed the video. If so, please like and subscribe. If you have any thoughts, leave a comment. With that said, let's keep it moving.
I'm in the Gold Coast right now.
Hard to watch cell phone video shot by a witness appears to show shooting victims on the ground as first responders arrived to the scene on East Oak Street last night. In the Gold Coast neighborhood, known for its high-end shopping and dining. Today, it feels anything but.
We're losing the essence of where people love to live, where people love to come and visit, and the soul of this city.
A number of residents are now expressing concerns over growing violence in the area. Data from Chicago's police department shows a jump in reported numbers from 1 in 2016 to 7 this year, not including yesterday's.
It's almost to the point of, do you even just move out of the city? Because I don't feel safe at all right now.
And it's known to anybody else who might be committing similar acts of brazen violence, right? And who may brag about it or not brag about it, that their day has come.
5 members of the O-Block Street Gang, a faction of the Black Disciples, arrested and federally charged with committing murder in aid of racketeering.
The shooting, police believe, was committed by 4 people who jumped out of 2 cars on a busy Gold Coast street, traumatized shoppers, and killed Chicago rapper FBG Duck in August of last year.
Thank you, and thank you all for being here.
Now, more than a year later, Chicago police, the FBI, and federal prosecutors announcing charges, all against 5 men who they say are all members of the O-Block Street Gang.
In August of 2020, a 26-year-old man named Carlton Weekly, a popular young rapper from the Chicago drill music scene, who went by the stage name FBG Duck, was shot and killed in the trendy Gold Coast neighborhood in the near north side of Chicago. Last month, 14 months after the shooting, a federal indictment was unsealed and 5 men were named as FBG Duck's suspected killers. The men are in federal custody on charges of murder, in aid of racketeering, and various weapons charges. The following narrative is based on information contained in the unsealed federal indictment, on publicly available reporting as of this date, and on statements made by persons involved in the ongoing wars in the streets of the Windy City, also known as Chirac. On August 4th of 2020, Carlton Weekly, also known as FBG Duck, was standing in line near the entrance of a high-end clothing store in the upscale Gold Coast neighborhood in the near north side of Chicago. He was out shopping for birthday gifts for his son. He stood in line in front of the boutique as other shoppers and pedestrians milled about. The first block of East Oak Street, where Duck stood, is just blocks away from Chicago's historic Magnificent Mile. Weekly's rap career was flourishing, and he was an ascending talent in the Chicago drill music scene. He was also allegedly a member of a faction of the infamous Chicago street gang, the Gangster Disciples. At about 4:30 p.m., 2 vehicles, a dark Ford Fusion and a gray Chrysler 300, pulled up in front of the store where Weekly and other shoppers stood. A total of 4 armed men hopped out of the vehicles, approached Weekly, raised their weapons and fired, striking Weekly multiple times in the torso. Duck's girlfriend, who told police she was waiting in a car parked close by, was shot twice in the left wrist, and a 36-year-old man was hit in the back and leg. They both survived their injuries. The gunmen jumped back into the vehicles and sped off, leaving onlookers shook and bystanders shocked as Weekly lay bleeding on the ground. Cell phone footage captures Weekly struggling for his life after the shooting. Duck was taken to Northwestern Memorial Hospital, where he was pronounced dead at 5:06 p.m. At least 38 shots were fired at Weekly. Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot suggested after the slaying that the young rapper's assailants were able to locate him because he'd been live streaming his travels through the city that day. Chicago Police Superintendent David Brown and U.S. Attorney for the District of Illinois, John Lausch, held a press conference at the FBI Chicago field office on the day of the arrest of the suspected killers, roughly 14 months after the Gold Coast assassination. The law enforcement officers gave details of how authorities were able to identify the suspects and of the case against the men. The operation was the result of a collaboration between federal, state, county, and local law enforcement. Prosecutors said that the Gold Coast shooting was captured on video and that at least one of the cars was captured on police pod cameras and license plate readers. Federal criminal charges have been filed against the following individuals: Marcus Smart, 22 years old, also known as Muwop; Charles Liggins, 30 years old, also known as Murda; Kenneth Roberson, 28 years old, also known as Kenny Mac; 30-year-old Tacarlos, also known as Los Munna; and Christopher Thomas, who's 22 years old and is also known as Thang. The men are being charged under a federal law known as the RICO statute. That's RICO, as in Racketeering Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, which was signed into legislation in 1970 and was used to infiltrate and decimate the Italian mob, which had been the most powerful and pervasive group of organized criminals in the country for decades. Prosecutors alleged that the 5 suspects were members of a black disciple set known as O Block from Southside Chicago, and as such, they participated in a criminal enterprise which was perpetuated in part by the murder of FBG Duck. O Block's territory is the Parkway Gardens homes in the 6400 block of South Martin Luther King Drive. It has been referred to as the most dangerous block in Chicago. Authorities said that members of the O Block set have publicly claimed responsibility for acts of violence and used social media and music to further their criminal enterprise. This June 2020 article in The Intercept details the FBI's use of internet surveillance to spy on the public and to chase down and capture suspected criminals. O Block is a rival of the Tuckerville Gang, a gangster disciples set, of which FBG Duck was a member. The two cliques, whose territories are just minutes apart, have been at war with one another and other gangs for years. 4 of the suspects were arrested hours prior to the press conference. One, Kenneth "Kenny Mac" Roberson, was already in Cook County custody at the time that his alleged accomplices were bagged. He was arrested on February 21st of this year for allegedly shooting to death a man named Lorenzo Moore 3 weeks prior on January 30th in the city of Dalton, Illinois, just south of Chicago and across the Little Calumet River. There are also gun charges pending against Roberson, derived from a 2019 arrest. He was out on bail when he allegedly participated in the killing of FBG Duck. Tacarlos Los Munna allegedly drove the lead vehicle in the Gold Coast mission and had purchased the car only a week prior, falsifying employment information he provided to the dealership out in the burbs. Offord's attorney, arguing on behalf of his client during a detention hearing on Friday, October 15th, did not contend the fact that the man had purchased the vehicle, but he said the prosecution had no evidence that Offord had been involved in the shooting. The judge ordered Offord remain detained. Here's Charles Murda Liggins on Instagram Live sometime prior to his arrest. Users in the live chat make regular references to gang affiliations, acts of violence, and pay homage to fallen soldiers. Prior to his racketeering indictment, Liggins had appeared in Chicago's local news media at least once before due to accusations of violence on his part. ABC 7 Chicago reported in October of 2009 that plainclothes police officers allegedly saw Liggins discharge a firearm at a group of men. Officers intervened and ended up shooting Liggins in the thigh after he reportedly aimed a weapon at them. Marcus Muwop Smart began his rap career roughly 1 year ago and was building some buzz. He was close to rapper and O-Block associate King Von, who was shot to death in Atlanta last year in a confrontation that was unrelated to the Windy City Wars. King Von is a highly revered figure in Chicago, his enemies notwithstanding, and to millions of rap music fans around the world, especially since his killing. His videos have been viewed online hundreds of millions of times, and his songs have been streamed hundreds of millions more. Prior to his passing, King Von encouraged Muwop to start rapping. He did so, and like his friend Von, his career quickly began to take off. His few videos online had already registered millions of views even prior to his arrest. In this video from earlier this year, Muwop is interviewed by a man who goes by the name of Track, who was King Von's business manager. Muwop seems to confirm that the things he raps about are actually things that he's lived, seen, and done.
I wasn't raised in a habitat where I had to defend and protect myself 24/7, where it feels like a war going on in my own city. So do you feel like when they hear your drill, it's like, nah, this is him for real?
Yeah. Like gangster, like gangster music. Like everybody growing up now, they be want to be gangsters.
True.
So like what I'm rapping about, they'll be like, that's gangster.
Yeah.
Like everybody be want to do that. Like what I just said in my last song with Track Still, I said, I'm gonna chase him down, hit his head, make his back peel.
Yeah.
So people will be like, oh, that's gangster. He chasing somebody down, hit him in the back of their head.
So the fascination of consumers wanting to be or wanting to portray a certain lifestyle pretty much make them more fans, because it's like, yo, this guy really go through this.
In this video, he's hanging at O-Block. The live stream was apparently shot shortly before his arrest on October 13th. Christopher C. Thang Thomas is also a rapper. He appears in this video for a song called Jump Out with another member of O-Block named Zell Munna. Here he appears in an Instagram live video, armed, standing on a corner in the heart of Tucaville, taunting his rivals. In this Instagram live video, he takes questions from fans and trolls. One fan asks him, quote, "Who killed FBG Duck?" He ignores the question. There's been some speculation that Zell Munna, who appears in the Jump Out video with C-Thang, was also involved in the shooting of Duck. Zell, however, took his own life some time before the task force moved in on the suspects. Some have wondered on the web if he may have checked out over supposed revelations that his girlfriend had been cheating on him. Others guessed that he's another casualty of the wars, and that the strain of all that he's seen and lost, including 3 brothers who died violently on the battlegrounds of the Chi, was too great for him. Just a few weeks before Duck was killed, he had released a song called Dead Bitches, in which he dissed several deceased associates from the rival O-Block crew. Police and others have speculated that Duck's killing was an act of retaliation by O-Block for the lyrics in his song, perceived as recklessly disrespectful. In Dead Bitches, his venomous insults slandered the names of beloved O-Block BDs known as O.D. Perry, J Money, and T. Roy. He also blasphemed the name of Sherrod Liggins, the brother of Charles C. Murda Liggins, one of the men recently accused of killing Duck. O.D. Perry was gunned down at 11:35 p.m. on August 11, 2011, near the intersection of 64th and King Drive, in the heart of the territory known as Wick City. That's W-I-C, as in wild, insane, crazies. He was 20 years old. In the wake of his murder, Wick City would take the name of O-Block in memory of Perry. O.D. Perry was killed on the birthday of a rival named Shondale Tuka Gregory from a set called St. Lawrence, who was killed 7 months prior on January 12th. St. Lawrence E-Block would take the name of Tucaville in memory of Gregory. Perry's murder is believed by many to be an act of retaliation for Tuka's assassination. In the early evening of February 16, 2012, Sherrod Liggins suffered a bullet wound to the head when he walked out of a store in the 6400 block of South King Drive, deep in O-Block territory. Sherrod Liggins is the younger brother of Charles C. Murda Liggins, who was recently accused in FBG Duck's murder. He was discovered by police at about 6:46 p.m. and was transported to Stroger Hospital in critical condition, where he was pronounced dead 4 days later. Many Chirac historians believe that the reputed Tucaville shooter Rodney Boss Trell Stewart is responsible for Liggins' murder, though police have never named a suspect in the killing. Boss Trell and another Tucaville associate and close friend of Tuca, Jakira K.I. Barnes, are both named in police documents as Odie Perry's killers, though charges were never brought against them. Jakira was only 14 years old at the time she allegedly killed Perry. Boss Trell himself was gunned down in November of 2012, apparently after he'd made a decision to change his life and leave the gang warfare behind. At the time of his killing, Boss Trell reportedly had in his pocket a bus ticket to Iowa where he had friends and a job lined up and where he planned to move. Some Chirac historians believe that Boss Trell was set up by someone very close to him. He was 17 years old. On April 11th of 2014, in the 400 block of Eberhard Avenue, deep in Tucaville, a hooded individual walked up on K.I. and fired on her as she stood outside of a house party. She sustained several gunshot wounds and was pronounced dead at Northwestern Hospital. She was only 17 years old. In this DJ Vlad interview, FBG Duck warns a rival who goes by the name of 600 Breezy, who had disrespected K.I. in a song and on social media, to expect a beatdown if he ever crossed paths with Duck.
The reason I don't like him is because you putting K.I. name in your mouth and like you're not even out here for real. Like, you don't do shit out here. Nigga, you ain't never blew no gun at us or nothing. Like, we don't know you like you a bitch. Keep K.I. name out your mouth, boy.
Police have named the popular rapper and deceased O-Block associate King Von the suspected killer of Jakira Barnes. King Von was killed in November of 2020 in a conflict in Atlanta unrelated to the wars in Chirac. Click on the card in the upper right-hand corner to see the report I posted on his killing. A link will also be in the description box. 8 of the 25 individuals who suffered gunshot wounds on Labor Day weekend of 2013 in Chicago succumbed to their injuries. Among them was Jerome J. Money Woods of O-Block. He was shot on South Road Street in the West Woodlawn neighborhood just outside of his crew's stronghold and pronounced dead at the scene at 2:27 p.m. His shooting was believed to be retaliatory. He was 21 years old. He was one of at least 8 shootings on Labor Day in Chicago, 3 of which were fatal. A little more than 2 weeks later, in an apparently unrelated attack, J Money's 3-year-old nephew was critically wounded when a gunman opened fire at a basketball court using an assault rifle, striking a total of 13 people. All of them survived their wounds.
The shooting happened in Cornell Square Park in the south side of Chicago late last night. Police taped off an outdoor basketball court. Right now, police do not have any suspects in custody, but they do believe it's gang-related. Gun violence is a major issue in Chicago. The president even discussed it during a speech back in February.
A total of 24 people were shot in the city that day. 5 of them perished as a result of the gunfire. Half of the 12 people who were shot in various incidents across the city in an 18-hour period in February of 2017 did not survive their injuries. James T. Roy Johnson was one of those killed. An armed individual had followed him inside of a convenience store in the 2000 block of East 71st Street just before noon and fired on him. He was taken to Northwestern Memorial Hospital with a gunshot wound to the chest and pronounced dead at 12:38 p.m. T. Roy was 23 years old. T. Roy's brother, Zell Munna, who took his own life this past August, is rumored to have been involved in the shooting of FBG Duck. Odie Perry, T. Roy, J. Money, and Sherrod Liggins were only a few of the rivals whose deaths FBG Duck mocked in the song Dead Bitches. Members of O-Block are also fond of dissing dead rivals. In King Von's song, All These Niggas, he repeats a slur that is commonly used in lyrics and online. In one line he raps, quote, "Tuka in my lungs," unquote, mocking the fact that Tuka had been smoked in street terminology, meaning he'd been shot and killed. During the announcement of the O-Block indictments, authorities suggested music plays an important role in perpetuating the cycle of violence in the streets of Chicago. In one of FBG Duck's interviews with DJ Vlad, he talks about the persistent thought of the prospect of his own demise, which lingers in the back of his mind.
Every day, all day, it changed how I move, everything. Of course I know motherfuckers want to kill me. I'm a very disrespectful person.
He also discusses his reasons for not leaving Chicago, as other disciples turned rappers had done.
It's shit that I gotta make sure I take care of here first before I do anything. Like, you feel me? Like, and plus I ain't the type of motherfucker that wanna go move to another city, cause I don't trust nobody. Yeah, motherfucker could turn fake on you anywhere. You can die anywhere. You can get shot anywhere. You feel me? And it's like now how I move around, shit, I'm safe, you feel me?
According to Duck's mother, Lashina Weekly, at the time of his death, the young rapper was prepared to sign a recording contract with legendary hip-hop company Rap-A-Lot Records. Carlton Weekly left behind 4 children. His suspected killers are facing a minimum sentence of life imprisonment if convicted, and potentially the death penalty. The gang warfare in Chicago continues. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks for sticking around to the end. You guys especially help this channel to grow. What you're looking at right now is a man named Bryce Rhodes, and he's involved in a story that I'm working on right now. It's a pretty gruesome and a pretty shocking story. He's accused of 3 murders that occurred on 2 separate occasions. 2 of the victims were teenage boys. There's so much more to the story, so definitely be on the lookout for that one. I should drop that pretty soon. Thank you guys again. Peace.